Welcome everybody, June 9th, 2024, Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got NXT Battleground. This is your host, Bryan, the Hype, Ballard, back at it again. We're getting into the little bit of a catch-up on NXT. It was a night of commentating by Booker T and Vic Joseph. And remember, my rules of NXT. This is the developmental territory. 2 out of the 5 stars will not make it on the main roster in a long term. And training is in progress. So always keep in mind, they're still honing their craft. We want to talk a little bit about tonight on background. We got a former WWE diva make her return slightly. We have a AEW mid-carder make his debut in the main event of NXT. And that is Ethan Page. And how is he going to fare up against the newly crowned Trick Williams? And will he whoop that Trick in the main event? Let's get in. We want to first talk about the overall NXT Women's North American Championship, newly crowned tonight. This is a matchup with Fallon Henley, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend, Mia Yim or Michin, take your pick, and Sol Ruka. We've got a little bit of a ladder match with some very young talent of the women's division. This matchup did not overstay its welcome. It showcased a lot, and it was a great way to feature a lot of the young ladies of NXT. And be able to really hide some of those things they're working on in the gimmick matchup. And a little bit of chaos everywhere, every which way, and any way how. We've got the North American again. First ever history will be made with the Women's North American Championship being crowned. And who's it going to be, and who did I like in this matchup? Well, let's take a look. We start out, we get some chaos on the floor with Lash and Kalani in the ring, and Jordan ducks a lariat. And then Legend catches her with a crossbody, lands a knee to the ribs. Parker and Yim fight over the ladder on the announcer desk. And meanwhile, we got in the ring, we got Kalani Jordan missing a drop kick. And she and Ruka are fighting with Henley over a ladder. Malfunction at the junction, but they team up and they send Lash to the floor. Sol with the kippa, moonsault knee drop to the bull, Lash over, and then she pops back up and slides in the inside ladder up. There's a power bomb lift, and Kalani fights out with elbows. We get a lot of all-over action with this one. We fast forward a little bit, and we get Lash cutting off and pulling up and whip reversing Legend, and stops short of the ladder and sidesteps Mia Yim, face first into it. Lash with a sleeper on Mia. Henley, a sleeper on her. So we get like a 3-way sleeper. It's just nap time all over the place. Jordan hits a sleeper on her, but Lash then backs them up into the corner, and Fallon holds on to her sleeper, and Ruka climbs up on the ladder, and Jordan and Henley's back as Lash starts climbing. All 6 women are just struggling here. Ruka's down now. Kalani's bent over the ladder, and we also get a Frankensteiner to the floor. Michin gets back inside. The ladder's knocked over, and Ruka with an X Factor to put Jada into the steel. Henley back inside, clearing the ring, setting up the ladder back and forth, faster and faster. The 2 ladders are set up. Luke and Lash and Ruka are climbing together, fighting over the top. And Sol takes a chance, looking for a sunset flip off the top, but Legend hangs in there. 4 women are all together in a military press to Lash and slams her over the ropes to the floor through the ladder. We get a Mia with a DDT on Jordan, and then Sol and Fallon are on the tip of one ladder, but Yim climbs to the other. There's a lot of back and forth going on in Vegas in this opening matchup. And I will say, I am looking a lot at Sol Ruka. I'm really enjoying the work she's doing in this matchup, and I'm really honed in on her for some reason. I want to go and watch a little bit more of her action, so I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to her career. But that's what NXT does, and it gets you kind of excited about some of the young and up-and-comers. We got, kind of fast forward a little bit towards the end, we get Ruka out of the ring, speaking of her, jumping knee from Jordan, staggers onto a prone ladder. There's a split leg moonsault, and it connects, and Kalani climbs. And Kalani Jordan wins by retrieving the title and becoming your inaugural NXT North American Women's Champion. Kalani Jordan, the right pick here. I enjoyed the matchup. I enjoyed that it did not overstay its welcome, as I say. It was fast-paced. And we moved right on ahead into the night to the next showdown after making this history. And the next showdown with the show up is the OC, the original club, with taking on a championship matchup with Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Very interesting that we got the Good Brothers, or the OC, at this point of their career. You got Anderson, who just recently lost a match on NXT, or on WWE Speed on Twitter X. You can follow me at Bryan Adkins over on Twitter X. But Ken Anderson basically losing a speed match. And now we've got him in a NXT tag title matchup. My, how the OC has fallen a little bit. And are we at that point of the career where they're just going to put over a lot of other people until they're kind of finished up? We shall see. But AJ Styles is still connected, right? And in this matchup, we get Anderson and Axiom to start. There's a machine gun immediately targeting the champion and getting his shoulders, and Axiom snaps off a drop kick. We get a whip reverse, an octopus hold. Frazier's gotten tagged and comes in off the ropes with a big boot and a near fall. Axiom looks good as always. He's always kind of the high-flying fun action of this division. But we get a duck lariat, springboard, shooting press. Nope, just not enough. We get a head, nobody home, and a Phoenix Splash. Anderson with a fireman's carry, a stun gun, and then allows Gallows to back suplex with the neckbreaker. But no, we get a Liger Bomb. Axiom breaks it up, and we get back and forth tag team action. As these guys go, we get ultimately at the end an avalanche fireman's carry. A stun gun isn't enough to put him away. Carl Anderson sets him back up on the top. Axiom slips out, and Enziguri connects and blasts him with a dive. The tag maze to Axiom, and he hits the Spanish fly off the top rope. And Frazier hit going from the top and on down, and we get the pinfall with the Phoenix Splash from Frazier on to Carl Anderson for the 1, 2, and the 3. Quick little tag match. Kind of hits the reset from that opening ladder match that we got with a lot of action. Did its job, served its purpose. Very quick and efficient. We move on to the next one. The next one's an interesting type matchup and concept. And this really plays into the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas being the home of NXT Battleground. We get a NXT Underground matchup. So, if you're not familiar with an underground matchup, it is only won by basically MMA style. We get knockout, submission. That's pretty much what you're looking at here, right? So ultimately, we've got Shayna Baszler, very familiar, all the way from her days of the Ultimate Fighter and UFC days. And then we've got the newer, up-and-comer MMA fighter, Lola Vice. So in this matchup, there are no ropes in the ring. The lights get dimmed. You've got lumberjacks around the ring. Interesting concept from NXT. It's almost kind of like Raw Underground, but more not underground. More like not in the basement, more in the ring, right? The ring, it's a match and a style type, but I actually don't mind that because you do have a little bit of the crowd. I do wonder if the lumberjacks on the outside are really necessary and what service they really, like what purpose they serve in this. But we should get, it's a little different style matchup here. And we get Baszler out the gates hard, fighting up the aisle with Ablom, and then back into the ring. An ankle lock supplied, and Vice is scrambling to get away, rolling under. Shayna rolls right back. Lola crawls to the corner and slings Baszler off her face first into the post. We get a sleeper hold applied, and Baszler gets her free under her, and then Vice hangs in there right back down to one knee. But Shayna rolls both women off the edge of the ring to break free of the hold. We got Baszler going for her chokehold, this submission magician, and we also got Baszler working and dealing with the knee injury that Vice is working on with her throughout the matchup. So I didn't know what to really expect in this one, and as I'm just kind of intrigued and watching and wanting to see. And I will say, I do like the style, and I think there's a lot to do with NXT Underground. We get some back and forth action. We get a spot with the table on the outside. And then we get back inside, and we get a little more, a retching back on her leg. We get some leg work. We get an ankle lock. We get some Vice with leg kicks. And Shayna is taking guard, fighting her off, blocking punches to her feet. Lola gets her leg out from under her. We get some grounded punches, taking her back into a sleeper hold. Rolling into her back, but Baszler gets away and stomps her in the passing. So we get a roundhouse kick, a hip toss, mounted punch, and then back on the feet we get some leg kicks with some running knees, but Shayna can't capitalize on her own due to her own knee issue that's going on in this story. Outside, so basically there was a point in this matchup where Shayna Baszler gets what we've seen her do in NXT, especially in an MMA style matchup so much, and do the submission magician thing with the choke out, with the rear naked chokehold. But it was reversed, and Lola Vice was able to kind of get out of it after fighting it for a while. And then I know if you guys ever been in a chokehold, that's not something you just hang in there and kind of hang out and then quickly get out. I mean, once it's locked in, it's locked in. In previous NXT matches, Shayna Baszler has always been built up of that is her finishing move. And while I understand what we're trying to do with Lola Vice, I actually thought the match should have been over right there with Baszler getting the win in this type of matchup and being able to do a little bit more work in NXT. And I guess we're at that point of her career where, she's going to be jobbed out, I guess, in NXT. And I hate to see that because I always thought that Shayna Baszler had so much going for her in the WWE verse. Ultimately, we do get Shayna with the triangle hold, and Vice windmill punches her until she gets away. With Lola puts Baszler face first into the steps, and then they get back inside, and she hits a back fist and a grounded punches, and Lola Vice wins on the ground and pound punches by referee stoppage in this one. Okay, so that one was unexpected. We did get, an interesting end here. Shayna Baszler did not look like she was really knocked out. She actually was still making a move to defend herself and to go after the leg of Lola Vice. And if any of you guys know about MMA fighting, the fighter has to be able to not defend themselves anymore for a referee stoppage. So I think the referee stoppage was a little premature here, but I think that it's going to be part of the story and what they're going to lead with. And Shayna Baszler saying that she wasn't knocked out. Vic Joseph and Booker T tried to sell on the commentary that she was knocked out and she didn't realize she was knocked out, which I know that they were trying to sell it and the idea, but I really think it did kind of come across a little bit of a kind of silly ending with that, and I know they're doing it for story, but I would like to see, if you're going to do the Raw Underground MMA UFC type style, especially with a UFC owned company, I would like to see these matches emulate that a little bit more. I like the concept, I like the match, and I may even consider covering NXT Underground as a kind of thing here now on the channel. I do enjoy, as you hear on Tap Out, talk a little MMA and a little bit of UFC myself. So ultimately, this matchup did get my attention. I did like how, they had, the setup of the ring being a little different, Kumite style. But the lumberjacks on the outside just seemed to not really serve a purpose, and we had a crowd to kind of hype everybody up. So I don't know how effective it was. And at one point, they got in the way of the two girls working, and Shayna Baszler seemed to just kind of go crazy, starting beating up on those guys. But ultimately, interesting concept. I'm interested to see where they go with this a little bit more. Lola Vice is your winner on NXT Battleground tonight in the Underground match. And speaking of winners, we got a lot of winners over the fans of ProWrestling.com. You got not just the Tap Out Talk podcast, but you got a great other podcast that, for example, would be like Ted's Takes. He's got a lot of shorts on YouTube that you'll enjoy and just some thought-provoking things going on. Plus, you got me and the rest of the team with the Wrestling Fans Insight podcast. We do multiple interactions with you guys over on Twitter X, so definitely follow us over there. Let's get over. We've got the NXT North American Championship up next in a triple threat match. We got Wesley, Joe Coffey, good to the last drop, as Booker T says. And we've got Obafemi. I tell you guys, I love me some Obafemi. This guy is a beast. He's the beast incarnate, Obafemi. This guy, he's a hybrid between a Bryan Cage, a Brock Lesnar, a Mark Henry, with a little bit of everything mixed in one. But I'll be honest with you, he's something special himself, and he's going to do a lot of damage in the WWE on the main roster when he gets there. But I don't want to see him there anytime soon. Eventually, I would like to see a Trick Williams-Obafemi matchup. But for now, I want Obafemi dominating the North American Championship division of NXT, and that's what we're going to get here. We get a quick near fall at the beginning with Coffey, and then we get an out and back in the ring, and then ultimately we get a delayed vertical on Wesley. You guys know I'm a big fan of his work. I felt like he should have already been on the main roster. I would have tag teamed him with Ricochet and made a very cool unit out of those two. A legit tag team. But ultimately, I don't know if I'll ever get that wish between these guys. So, what we got a fireman's carry. We got Lee with double stomps, and Joe lands a Death Valley driver on Femi. Is kind of out of it at this point, and then Lee punches Coffey into a cover and immediately gets broke up. Oba power bombs Joe into the apron and catches Wes and on a dive, and it power bombs him into Coffey. Back inside, we get the cardiac kick. Femi blocks it. Lee tries again, and he gets it, but Coffey breaks it up. The rest of Gallus runs down to help out Joe Coffey and beats up Oba, but we get Joe with a moonsault and a headbutts on Wes, and it's just not enough. Lee lays him out, charges in. The Meteora connects, charging forearm, super kick, enziguri, cardiac kick connects, but Joe Coffey pulls up the referee out of the ring. Lee dives on him. Femi returns into the ring and blocks all of the best for the bells with the boot. A pop-up drop connects, and a catch and a dive and a power bomb, and he lifts Joe's up. And so Obafemi wins this one with a big powerbomb on Joe Coffey for the big man, retaining the NXT North Championship. So in this one, Obafemi was again yet to look powerful. Wesley was Wesley doing Wesley stuff. And Joe Coffey, his job was to take the pin here. But Obafemi was also able to defeat all of Gallus in this matchup with their interference in the ring. So it did kind of break down a little, crazy in this one. But it did its job of as far as letting Obafemi get a very dominant performance in this one, building the big man up a little bit further. And speaking about going a little bit further, we've got a women's NXT championship. Women's champion versus the TNA Knockouts champion, but this is just for the women's NXT championship, and that is Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne Perez here on Battleground. All right, so I got to say on this one, I wasn't excited about a Roxanne Perez match. You guys know, I'm not a big Pop Rocks fan, right? I'm not a big, just not drawn in overall with Roxanne. But Jordynne Grace, I wanted to see what she was going to do in the ring here in NXT. And when I seen the referee, I seen Felix Fernandez, my buddy Felix, the referee on this one. And I said, you know what, I got to watch it because Felix is the referee. So I'm definitely going to, hone in. By the way, good job on the refereeing, Felix. Keep up the great work. Ultimately, though, let's talk about the matchup. We got a collar and elbow. We got Grace shoving her away, and calls back for more, circling Perez with a go-behind. Jordynne slings her aside, and Grace calling for a test of strength. Roxanne with the short circuits and stomping her to the floor. We get a tilt-a-whirl, but it's blocked and shoved off, and Jordynne one step ahead to beat. And Jordynne Grace looks really strong here in the beginning. Shoulder blocks, slamming into Perez. Definitely looks like the muscle-bound beast that she is from TNA. So it was good to see. And I want to say kudos to WWE for featuring TNA in a prominent role here in NXT on the undercard. We've got a little bit of a partnership going on. It's almost ECW-ish, and it's kind of nice because the fans, I believe, that watch NXT consistently are definitely the fans that are also going to check out TNA consistently. So it's good to have these guys crossed over with each other. And it's very strategic by WWE because it makes, I guarantee you that partnership is a little bit more exclusive, aka keeping TNA away from AEW. It's the AEW effect. Going back into the matchup here, we got Grace. We get the Grace under pressure at one point, but not enough. Roxanne up to the top. Jordan cuts her off. We get kneeling and trade shots. And then we get a hammerlock from Perez. Grace stabilizes a chop, scoop and a slam, pump kick on the champ. Or I should say one of the champs. But we then get a cop killer being blocked, a spine buster for 2. Roxanne slips out with a wheelbarrow DDT off the rope. Head scissors dive, but it's just not enough. Deadline powerbomb. Perez manages to hang over. And then we get Grace, who sets up on the top again, headbutts, and then thinking about a muscle buster, Samoa Joe style. She gets it, but it just can't keep Roxanne down. Fast forward in the matchup. We get a little bit of distraction on the outside. We get Tatum Paxley jumping the rails and stalking the title belts at ringside. She grabs the TNA Knockouts Championship. And then we get, as she's stealing that championship, a returning Dana Brooke from WWE days. However, she is now known as Ash by Elegance in the TNA Knockouts division. So Dana Brooke, a.k.a. making her return, known as Ash by Elegance, appears to grab the title. Jordan goes for both of them and knocks them and lays them out in the aisleway. Back inside, we get a block and then a back fist and a fireman's carry. A California roll connects the pump handle. Roxanne counters over with the Ace Crusher. We get a Pop Rocks, a 1, a 2, and a 3. It's over with the Pop Rocks, and Roxanne Perez getting the retain. Jordan Grace looked very strong in this matchup. It was the right thing to do to allow the NXT champion to retain her title in this matchup. It would have been interesting to see Jordan Grace take this title and show up on TNA doing a little more cross promotion there, but I understand why the winner was the winner. I understand that we had a little interference to help that along. Truly, Jordan Grace is the more elite wrestler of these two. Jordan Grace looks more polished. She looked like her timing was off a little bit with Roxanne Perez. Not on her end, but it looked like there was some moments where Roxanne Perez was trying to get her position and doing a Pop Rocks earlier in the match. Enough for Jordan Grace to eventually reverse it and fall on her back. But she was waiting on Perez to kind of get into position so it could be a safe work. So kudos to Jordan Grace for doing that. The matching was well paced. Again, shout out to Felix Fernandez, the referee, for helping a lot along in the matchup. But ultimately, I will say, not a terrible matchup. It was nice to see this cross promotion happening. And let's move ahead and let's see what's the main events got cooking. So before we move ahead, if you guys like wrestling, hit that like button. You like TNA or AEW or NXT, hit the like button. We like it all here on Tap Out Talk, but that just means you'll see more stuff in your feed that allows you to see more stuff about wrestling on a day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead and let's get into our main event. We got the first ever championship defense of Trick Williams versus All Ego Ethan Page, coming straight over from AEW, from free agent to new signing in NXT. It's exciting to see. We love it when people jump ship, don't we? We love it when we see guys go from one thing to the other and moving over to WWE and NXT and AEW and TNA. We love crossovers. We want to see DC crossing over with Marvel. They actually did that in the comics, but we're not here for comics. We're here for a main event matchup. And we got Page with a double leg and hammering punches out of the gates, charging with the knee. Williams sidesteps, hard right hand, backing Ethan into the corner. Whip cross, scooping a slam, shoving All Ego to the mat. Mounted punches, jumping neck breaker. We get a Trick Willie through the steel steps. And then back inside, we get Williams trying to recover. The All Ego with a hanging butterfly backbreaker for a near fall. We get a little back and forth, faster and faster. We'll move ahead in the matchup. We're going to get a little bit outside. We're going to go off the ropes, a float over DDT connecting, punching blocks, Williams throwing his own, slicing leg lariats. We get a 540 pump, but All Ego Ethan Page rolls to the floor for a breather. Whip reversed, and Page goes over the barricade into the crowd. Crossbody over the barricade, back inside with a boot. and Page kicks out. So we get a little outside, and we get some replays of the action of Williams popping over the barricade to attack Ethan Page. Back in the ring, we get trading right hands. Yay, boo, yay, boo. Trick getting the better of it. We get a floating over powerbomb attempt, a ducking, a roundhouse kick, but no, it's still not enough. All Ego counters in a power slam through a table because they want to go out by the announcer's desk now. So Trick clears that. And then we get the Ego's edge for a 2 count. Arguing with the referee that his hand was not in the corner, warned. And then we get, overall, we get warned Ethan Page. And then we get Trick shot. Connects, and it's 1, 2, and 3. It ended kind of promptly, and I didn't think that the Trick shot would come that fast in this matchup. So we get in the ring, we get Sexy Red, the host of the evening, celebrating with Trick Williams. Ethan Page is in the corner, looking disgruntled, laying down. And that is the end of our broadcast on NXT Battleground. This matchup was not my favorite. They had inside-outside action. Trick Williams did not look bad in this matchup. He looked like the normal self. He looked like what we've fallen in love with as NXT champion. But Ethan Page looked, he was average. He was all average Ethan Page. And I got to question NXT for bringing him in and kind of shooting him straight to the top of NXT. While I know you want to take advantage of the new and exciting, I think it would have been better for him to have a mid-card match, not to get swallowed up by Obafemi, but, maybe, have somebody that he potentially could have worked with previously in AEW and have a matchup there. Maybe, the chairman himself, Sean, maybe Sean Spears and Ethan Page could have been their first matchup, and then we could have went with a Trick Williams matchup. But ultimately, we did get Trick Williams, Ethan Page, and I don't know what they're going to do after this. I don't know if any of you guys are going to ask for a little bit more in the Ethan Page Trick Williams saga. I do believe this should be a one and done. But let's talk about that in our final thoughts. So overall, our final thoughts. We've got Jordan Grace making her debut. We've got Trick Williams making his title defense. And what I really want to just kind of point out in this is great cross promotion tonight. We've got Trick Williams getting his first title defense out of the way. He looked fine as champion. I just think I would like to see him with a really strong opponent. I would like to see Wesley personally and Trick Williams going at it, maybe in a matchup. I think those two could just be fire. And ultimately, that's kind of, what I'm seeing and where this is going. I like the partnerships they're doing. I like the show. It didn't really stall for me at all. And I want to see more of what they did tonight. So that's about everything I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for stopping over here on Tap Out Talk. And remember, like, share, subscribe. It's not goodbye. It's game over.